Speaker.
I call Dennis O'Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First of all, I want to congratulate Phil Twyford for having this very good bill selected from the ballot. I wish that I could be as lucky. However, it's great to be able to stand up and support a bill of this quality. And I might say at the beginning that I think that the contributions from the members opposite have been utterly pathetic. Nothing more than a litany of excuses to do nothing, completely lacking any logic at all, and most of all, lacking compassion for people who are these days still, in this day and age, required to live in unhealthy homes because they're not properly insulated and not properly heated. And some of them have talked nonsense about unintended consequences when, if they'd bothered to read the bill at all, they would have found that there's a 5-year phase-in period which gives landlords plenty of time to make preparations. And the Landlords Association themselves actually agree with this bill. So why don't those members opposite actually listen to those people, because they do know what they're talking about. Mr. Speaker, there's no doubt that home insulation and home heating are the foremost issues for healthy homes in this country, and that means all homes. But this bill deals only with rental homes, and they are, of course, the homes usually in most need of it. New Zealand First agrees that every rental home in New Zealand must meet minimum standards for heating and insulation, and that does require legislation, and this is that legislation. It's the sort of legislation that the government itself should be bringing forward if it had any wit, but it doesn't. The bill will require the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Authority to set the standards. The bill actually says 1st of April 2014, but clearly that will be amended. But the important thing is that it will make it mandatory for landlords to meet those standards. And I can say this, most good landlords actually do want that because they know it will create a level playing field. And that is good for the market. And when one of those members opposite, I can't remember her name, talked a load of nonsense about people being thrown out of homes, about the market not being able to cope and so on. Well, a properly regulated market actually works better. And this market would too. The bill also amends the Residential Tenancies Act 1986, and it talks about requiring every tenancy agreement to require that the standards to be set would be met. And that actually gives the tenants a way of enforcing good standards. And so they should be able to. They are the best ones in a position to do it. This should have been done a long, long time ago. And it's good to see it. It could be done now if only the national government would think a little more clearly about the whole issue. Mr. Speaker, my experience in dealing with tenants and homeowners with housing problems in Christchurch has come to a head, I suppose I should say, because of the earthquakes in Christchurch. And like other Christchurch MPs, I've dealt with a whole list of people with all sorts of different problems about that. And what that means is actually this bill is only the beginning. A lot more really needs to be done. It takes a strictly regulatory approach, and that's fine. And but if I were to list some of the other things that need to be done, you'll see what I mean. For example, earthquake resistance. That's another issue that really should be dealt with in a bill like this, and which the government should be doing something about. There's a lot of information about that now, and it can be done without huge expense. And another lesson we've learned is about flood protection. Remember the people in the Flockton Basin in Christchurch. That's another big issue that really needs to be dealt with too. And then there are other things as well. Another example would be, and somebody else has already mentioned this, the huge problem of leaky homes. We still don't really understand, Mr. Speaker, the magnitude of that. So there is a lot more to be done, Mr. Speaker, but this bill is a very solid and important step in the right direction, and we should all in this House be supporting it.